Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding for Senior Report is provided in part by a grant from Andrew Goodell, Assemblyman for the 150th District of the New York State Assembly. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a lovely day, really, in Chautauqua County. We're finally getting temperatures above freezing anyway, and it looks like things are thawing out just a little bit. Praise the Lord. We have a great show coming up here. We're going to be talking about a very basic chemical, an element called oxygen. You need it. And a lot of people don't get enough. And we're going to talk about that. We've got a specialist here in terms of the business, Galen Zook, who's going to tell us all about it. And he'll answer your questions if you have any. If you're breathing hard, we'll understand. You can call. The number is 753-JACK or 753-5225. Anytime during this program, which is taking place Saturday morning from 9 to 10, every Saturday morning. And this one is the 22nd of February, last Saturday. Okay, talking about things going on around us, I watch the television regularly, and I see the White House decided to stop fighting. They're going to just use presidential fiat or presidential proclamations now. Whatever Obama wants, he'll simply say, it's a law because I say so. The heck with the Congress, I don't need them. He just signed a bill which cut back food stamps 10%. How about that? For the good of America, it says, the good of the country. Well, let's see. That means that the poorest people, the children, the senior citizens, more and more being pushed onto the Medicaid rolls, are going to get 10% less to eat. So you eat 10% less. They gave billions and trillions of dollars to the rich and powerful bankers. And what do they give to the average guy, the poor person, the children who have no money? 10% less food. Kids, you're going to have to eat 10% less food now. Thank you, Congress and the President and all the people involved who are taking care of the rich and powerful, but not the average guy, you and me. I don't know. He's got the new budget, I see, and they did pass a budget of sorts. But the funny thing is they don't tell us what it includes. There's no information about the budget. We just say we're going to have a new budget. It's going to be billions, trillions of dollars or whatever. But I will tell you what we're going to use it for later. Maybe we'll never tell you. You can just find out. I don't know. This is funny things. The funny business going on in Washington is unbelievable. Tom Reed is our representative, and Robertson, who's running against him, is attacking him from the right and the left and the up and the down, all over the place. We don't hear too much from either one, though, excepting just, those little snippets that you see in the press. All right. We are going to take a public service announcement time, and then I'll give you some senior news. This is for you, friends.
Passion. Every day, I live for the outdoors and all of its challenges. That's why I enlisted in the Coast Guard. Now, I serve to protect the environment and defend my country. It's like I was born for this.
Were you born ready for a greater challenge? Find out at GoCoastGuard.com.
How about that, the Coast Guard? If you want to serve in the United States Armed Forces, join the Coast Guard. That's the easiest and the best. Just float around on a boat.
Yeah, real easy.
Can't go wrong. Lakeshore Senior Citizens, I wanted to make a note of them. President over there is Stella Michalak, and they do a lot of hard work. They have potluck dinners regularly. They're going to have one March 17th, and that's that special day. I know they're going to have corned beef and cabbage and potatoes. St. Paddy's Day. And they have another one, the potluck dinner, April 30th at the center. You know, potluck dinners, you bring something to pass. They have a basic dish, usually provided by the center, and bring your own dishes, or your own silverware usually, so they don't have to fiddle with that. You just take it home in a baggie and wash it up. Sinclairville seniors, they have a very special group. You know, they deliver Meals on Wheels over there. Can you beat that? I mean, this is a small private group that does a heck of a lot of work. Elaine Palmer Titus is very important. They had a soup dinner, and she made the master soups, the stone soups, you know, where you throw a stone in, and other things. February 27th, coming up, is the wedding anniversary of a very special couple, Phil and Sherry Shea, who've been very, very involved in hardworking over there at that crowd. They had a teach, show, and sell program, a show program with all kinds of wonderful stuff. If you want to join them, March 11th is their next meeting. And they meet at the Sinclairville Fire Hall usually, and they have a dinner. And they're going to be celebrating that special day a little early, but it doesn't matter. There'll be corned beef and cabbage dinner. Bring something to add to the meal, like a good dessert or whatever. I don't know what the traditional St. Paddy's Day dessert is. Usually there's no room. Maybe it's beer. All right, 50 plus. They're so far away, I don't think I would mention it. They're way down in the middle of nowhere. Dunkirk seniors, a very important crowd around here. Incidentally, they have the wonderful site. If you want to meet with your seniors, get in touch with them. They have an old school, which is just fantastic, up on 4th Street. And it has hallways you can run in the winter, and it has a fantastic setup for the seniors. It's just really great. They're going to also, Dunkirk seniors are going to have a potluck dinner for March 17th. Sign up at the center. And April 30th, I might add, at 5 p.m. Big bingo. They're playing big bingo now. Big prizes. Check in. Get some dates. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am finished with the news, they tell me. My time is up. There's no more fussing around loud, no more news, no more nothing. So we're going to close down, and we're going to have our guest come on. Now, John Hamels may call in, incidentally. He's visiting right now. He gets away occasionally. Got a bunch of kids and grandchildren and everything, and as we all do, and we have to take care of them occasionally. I must say I've got a bunch of beauties. Okay. Galen Zook is a long, long time. He has quite a career in oxygen therapy. He is not an official therapist himself, but he does a lot of the work. He delivers, he helps out, and he has extra special jobs to do. One of them being, when he visits a senior, he sees how they're doing, you know. He has regular visits, and if they're not doing well, he would report it. And they've got somebody, at least they can talk to every day. And so Galen, how often do you deliver to somebody's house? It probably depends a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, it depends. Some people use more oxygen than others. Some people only use oxygen at nighttime while they're sleeping or during the day when they take naps. But it is, a lot of people don't realize how important supplemental oxygen really is. Because some of the people that I've dealt with, once we've set them up with oxygen, didn't even realize how bad they were feeling until they started feeling better again. And yeah, it's a very important thing.
Well, yeah, without oxygen, you have a problem.
Yeah, you have a problem breathing without oxygen, yeah.
And some people cannot supply enough oxygen themselves.
No.
Why not? You know?
Well, what happens is and a lot of it's caused by secondhand smoke. I've had some people that I see that has never smoked a cigarette in their life, but yet have emphysema or a COPD, which is very similar. What happens is the lungs lose their ability to stretch. They lose their elasticity. So even though they're taking a deep breath, they're not getting as much oxygen into their lungs. So there's not enough oxygen to be transferred into the blood system. So what we do is we have machines that produce their own oxygen, and it's normally administered via nasal cannula.
What's that?
I didn't think to bring one, but it's a tube that goes in your nose. And
those little clips you see in people's
noses?
Yeah.
Yep, it goes around the back of the ears. And what that does, the machine makes its own oxygen, so that once we put the machine in the home, it just, once you plug it in, turn it on, we can regulate how many liters per minute that the machine produces. And what it does, it gives you extra oxygen so that there's more oxygen in your lungs so that it can transfer into your bloodstream and keep those oxygen levels up.
Well, the normal oxygen is a little over 20% of the air you breathe.
Right.
And this will jack it up to what?
What the machine produces is about 99% pure oxygen.
Going in your lungs?
Going in.
You just think it'd make you silly.
No, no. Some people are silly enough without it. But some people are silly because they need it and they just don't realize it. And once they get it, it just doesn't affect your lungs. It affects your whole body. Because what it's doing is making all your heart, your liver, all your vital organs, makes them work harder because they don't have that oxygen that the body needs to really function properly. So you get people, I really don't need it, but yet when they do the testing and everything, it really shows that their oxygen levels are low and their body is working really hard. And the way the body is designed, when you go to sleep at night, your heart rate slows down, your breathing gets shallower, so you're not drawing as much oxygen in. So that's why if you're not using oxygen, you wake up tired and sleepy and like you haven't slept all night. The reason is because your body's not really resting. What's happening is your heart rate, the body senses low oxygen levels, so the heart rate starts to elevate again, your breathing starts. So really you're not resting that much.
You're running it like it's daytime, huh?
Right.
Full force.
So that whole time that you're sleeping, but you're not really resting. And there's other reasons and there's other therapies other than oxygen that can help that, which we're going to talk about as the show goes on. But we, as a company, we deal with mostly just with respiratory issues. But personally, I have sleep apnea, and what basically
tell us what is sleep apnea.
Okay, sleep apnea is, and it's not necessarily a big person's condition. We have people that use CPAP therapy that are 110 pounds, tiny people. What it is in the back of your throat, your soft palate is connected to a muscle. And during the day, the muscle is tight and functioning, so your airway stays open. At nighttime, that muscle relaxes and your airway actually collapses and you stop breathing. So all those of you out there that your husband or your wife snores and wakes up gasping for air, there is a problem. You need to get that looked at and get tested to find out. And once you get the testing, they have what's called a CPAP. It stands for Continuous Positive Air Pressure. And I wear a mask that goes over my head and covers my nose, and it basically blows air down my throat to keep my air passage open.
How do you sleep with a mask on and all that?
You get used to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it took me a little while, but once I started sleeping with it all night long, it was like it was like night and day. It made such a big difference for me, and it actually has helped me with my energy level. Some people, well, if I use that CPAP, I'm not going to be able to have much energy. Well, that's quite the contrary, because without the CPAP, you're going to have a lot less energy. And again, it goes back to the same thing with lung disease. Your body's not getting enough oxygen, so your body's not resting.
So lung disease, they blame smoking for a lot of it.
Right.
But there are other causes of it, aren't there?
Sure. There's asthmas that have developed into things, but in the older days, the coal miners, they contracted what's called
black lung.
Yeah. There's mesothelioma, which is the asbestos.
Yeah, I see all
stuff.
The lawyers are pushing for lawsuits about mesothelioma.
Yep, and
lung cancer, sort of.
It is. Yeah. It's what happens is the asbestos particles get into the lungs, and it destroys the cilia that's in your lungs, and you can't expel those particles. So eventually, it basically does the same thing as emphysema. It detracts from the lung function.
So whatever asbestos you inhale stays with you, huh?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's why they're so concerned about
Vegas, it. You know.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in your lungs stays with your lungs.
Well, that's one reason they're so big on that. It's really hard for me to say, but the asbestos stuff is because it is very dangerous, and the particles are so small you can't really see them. And who knows? I spent 17 years in the Navy, retired from the Navy. Actually, officially be retired 15 years on the 28th of this month.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. And thank you all out there that have served also. I do run into a lot of vets out there, and it's kind of fun to sit down and talk to them when I get a chance about some of the things that they did while they were in the service and some of the things that I did and how it kind of correlates.
Well, they say in the ads I see for the mesothelioma, if you served in the Navy. Now, what does that have to do with asbestos?
Okay, that's where my whole point with being in the Navy was going, because the older ships, when the hot water pipes and all the insulation used to be made out of asbestos. So even if it's not falling apart, brushing against it releases particles into the air, and you just breathe them in. And so even though that you may not have seen the particles, they're still there. And as time went on, they discovered the problems with asbestos, so they started tearing it out of the ships and tearing it out of places, and that's why, and the older it gets, the more fibrous it gets, and the more particles that come off it. So if you know of somewhere with asbestos, get rid of it best you can, or get someone to come in and get rid of it.
No, they find asbestos everywhere, even in tiles on the floor,
Yeah.
on the shingles on houses.
Yep.
It's all over the place.
It was a very versatile thing, but they
Yeah.
didn't just, like a lot of things, didn't realize how dangerous it was. I mean, I remember, I can remember seeing old TV commercials about cigarettes and how good they were for you. Well,
The filters.
30 or 40 years down the road, now they found out that they're really not that, they really weren't that good for you. So,
Well, I did note that they did have asbestos in the filters.
really?
Yeah, which
Wow.
was all the better for spreading it into your lungs. you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Asbestos abatement, big deal, very expensive. You can barely, most old houses have asbestos in them, either in the
Right.
tiles or the shingles, the ceiling tiles, which isn't quite as dangerous as the open stuff that they put on pipes. But,
Right.
because it's basically sealed into the ceiling, into the tile. But it is there.
Right, but and you know how it is. They find out something's bad for you, and sometimes, and I'm not saying all times, they do a little overkill on what they want to do. But even in my business, in my field, there's things that the government has come up with that are just like, really?
Absurd, huh?
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's something happens obscure somewhere, and they have to come up with a safety rule for it, and it's like it would happen once every 100 years, and it's like, yeah, but it could possibly happen, and
Like the moon could fall on your head too,
yeah, exactly, something like that.
Yeah.
I got enough head to.
Well, I saw recently in the paper there was an article about some EMTs that were carrying a woman down out to the emergency vehicle, and instead of using a stretcher, they kept her in her chair and moved out. But unfortunately, one of the guys slipped, dropped the chair, and broke her back. And oh God, what a scene that was!
Yeah.
They're suing them, of course.
Yep. Well, and kind of back onto the oxygen therapy and oxygen's. We also provide nebulizer therapy.
Now, what's the difference between that?
Now, nebulizer therapy, a nebulizer is just a small little machine, and most people with emphysema or COPD, 99% of them will have one of those.
Yeah.
COPD is a progressive disease.
What is COPD?
COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Oh, I see. It means it's all the time.
Yep, it means it's going to get worse. It doesn't go away. Some people get oxygen and they think, well, I'm going to get better.
Oxygen doesn't cure.
No, oxygen doesn't cure. There is no cure for COPD. Once you have it, it's going to get worse. Some people progress more quickly than others. Some of it is how diligent you are with your therapy. Exercise helps with COPD because it helps keep your lungs a little more, to keep that elasticity longer. But nebulizer therapy, normally a person with asthma will just have an inhaler, something a little puffer, take a quick puff. What a nebulizer is that same medication, but it's administered through a machine, and each treatment normally takes around 10 minutes.
Can you carry it around? Is it portable?
Well, we do have, the industry does have portable nebulizers. Insurances will pay for a portable nebulizer. What they don't pay for is the battery.
Oh.
But they come.
Which is probably the expensive part.
A battery runs around $100. And but the thing is, with portable nebulizer, you're provided a power cord that you can plug into in at home, and a power cord that you can use in the car.
And does the battery recharge? I'm sure it has to.
Yeah, if you get a battery, it is rechargeable. But like I said, we have yet to find an insurance that'll pay for a battery.
That's weird because, I mean, you do need one to use your nebulizer.
Well, no, because you get the power cords, the 2 power cords that you can plug into the wall at home and plug into your
Right,
car.
but if you're not going to stay by your plug, you got a problem, huh?
Well, that's the thing. If people we do have people that really, really want the battery, so they'll go and pay for the
spring
battery.
For it, huh? All right.
Yeah,
I see.
so most people choose not to because
$100.
a lot of times they're going to be somewhere where they can plug in.
Uh-huh.
Either in the waiting room at the doctor's office or somewhere. A lot of times they'll be, or if they just go back out to their car and do their treatment there, it doesn't take that long. So
How often do you do it?
well, it depends. The doctor will prescribe it. There's some medications out there that are steroids, and those you do 2 times a day. Mm-hmm. And then there's other ones that if people, personally I use inhalers, and I can't use the steroids because I've been on them and it actually makes my breathing worse.
Does it bulk you up a little?
What's that?
Does it bulk you up a little?
No, that's from good eating right
Good
there.
eating. We're talking to Galen Zook, who's a specialist who delivers oxygen and gets people cranking with it and knows all about oxygen problems, lung problems, COPD, and whatever. And anybody who wants to call in and ask him a question or has a comment on this, 753-5225, and I see the red button is going, so somebody's trying to get in right now. But in the meantime, Galen, is this expensive? Say you need oxygen now. What do you do? You call up the oxygen company, say, send me a couple of bottles of oxygen, right? Or what do you do?
No.
No, you don't do that.
There's several ways. Medicare and almost any insurance has the same qualification standards. Your oxygen level has to drop.
Well, hold on. We got a phone call. You
Sure.
want to take that first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we're just talking about oxygen has to drop. Now, caller, you're on.
Yes, I was just wondering, do you provide like service in the middle of the night if some piece of equipment goes down? I know my brother had a nebulizer. He went down in the middle of the night. They had to call someone out from Erie or something.
Yes, we do. We do have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service, and we try to limit that to emergencies only. But obviously, if a doctor calls in or a hospital calls in, and we get quite a few calls from 5-Star Urgent Care. I'll put in a plug for them. They're a very good organization. They're very easy to work with, and they're very, very cost effective for people.
Was that a wagon or what?
No, 5-Star Urgent Care is down in Brooklyn Square.
Uh-huh.
It's
wherever Brooklyn
right
Square.
across from.
Brooklyn's quite a distance from here, though.
It's in the old hills, isn't it?
No, Brooklyn Square is down in Jamestown, where.
Right, but there used to be a Hills there.
No, you're thinking that's over on Fluvanna. They're down by the Tim Hortons, down by the cycle shop, down by Friendly's. There's a Chinese restaurant there. It's in the JAMA building is where it's at, which is down on Harrison Street.
That's urgent care.
And then our late night services, do they cost more or do insurances cover them? Say if your machine broke down in the middle of the night.
Oh, no, insurance has nothing. Yeah, we don't. That's not. The only thing is sometimes we have people that would like to call all the time about just little stuff that weren't really emergencies, and then we have the option to bill them a service call, but in which insurances won't pay for. But as a general rule, and if it's a legitimate thing, we will not charge a service call for having to come out in the middle of the night.
And then is this very similar to other companies that do this same service?
I can't. I'm not going to comment because I really don't know.
Alrighty, well, thank you.
Well, thank you, caller. Send in a stamped, self-addressed box, and we'll send you a nebulizer.
Yeah, doesn't work that way.
An old one that doesn't work.
Yeah. But anyways, back to qualifying for oxygen. You were asking about qualifying and how do you get oxygen. You have to go to the doctors. Well, we can do some.
You know you're having oxygen problems. How do you know?
Well, you'll be short of breath. You'll be wheezing.
That could come from drinking too much.
You could sound like me.
So you're wheezing, you're short of breath, you have trouble going upstairs.
Yep.
So you call your doctor.
Call the doctor.
Don't call you.
No, we don't. They don't. We can't do anything without a prescription.
Okay.
Now the doctor can. What he can do is what we also do is we have what's called a pulse oximeter, and what that does is test the oxygen levels in your bloodstream. Mm-hmm. We can deliver a pulse oximeter. The client will wear it overnight, and then we'll pick it up and we download it to a independent company.
Well, it's all computerized then.
Yeah. We as a company cannot qualify someone for oxygen because Medicare looks at it as, and rightfully so, as a conflict of interest. What we have to have is a pulse ox that records information and is uploadable to the internet. Now, a lot of people have pulse oxes. They do not record and they cannot be uploaded to the internet. The reason we can do that is because we cannot tamper with the results. All we do is drop the pulse ox off, pick it up, upload it to the company. We don't read the results. We don't even see the results until they're uploaded to the company. They send the results back to us.
That's so you won't declare everybody on Earth in need of your oxygen, right?
Right. Because if we could go in there and tamper with the results of the test, it would be possible for any company, not only the company I work for, to change those results to build the business. Mm-hmm. And people do tend to forget that even though we provide a service, a life-giving, necessary service, we are still a business. So, we get a lot of people, well, I can't afford to bill. But that's a whole different subject. We won't get into that too much. But
yeah, well, you can see there might be a conflict of interest there, and you want to make sure that everything's on the up and straight, especially if somebody's got to run around the rest of their life.
Right, exactly.
Pay for oxygen,
right?
Which is free to most people. I don't pay anything for mine.
No, me either at this point. But we have there's certain criteria that Medicare has lined out. Basically, your oxygen level has to be below 88% for a total time of over 5 minutes throughout the testing.
That is very low.
That's very low, considering most people's oxygen normally runs 96, 97%.
Yeah, right. Well, as an EMT, I remember the details. If somebody had 80, we'd go into panic.
Yeah. Well, at that point, once we get those tests, the doctor gets those test results, then he'll write a prescription for normally standard 2 liters per minute, 8 hours a day, or while sleeping. And when I go out and set someone up, I've learned a few lessons over the years.
What have you learned? What have you learned?
I've learned to let people know that even if they take a nap during the day, when they have oxygen, say they take an hour and a half nap, that they should use their oxygen at that time, even though it's only prescribed supposedly while sleep or at night. Mm-hmm. Well, the big lesson I learned is I had a client that kept ending up in the emergency rooms because his oxygen levels were dropping off the floor into the basement. So I asked him why he does it, and he's like, and I asked if he was using his oxygen while he was taking his 3-hour naps, and he's like, well, no, you only told me to use it at nighttime. Mm. So he's taking these 3-hour naps during the day and not using his oxygen, and his oxygen levels are dropping down into the 70s. So,
yeah,
lesson learned there, and it just goes to show you how quickly your oxygen levels can drop.
Well, I see a lot of people, more people than in the past. When I was a kid, nobody had oxygen, but they have those little things on their nose now with the tubes and everything. Mm-hmm. So I assume more people, one, need it, or number two, more people have access to it.
Well, I think it's both. You're starting to get into the age of the baby boomers, and you're getting that generation that believed that cigarette smoking was good for you. And these are the guys, these are the people in the late 40s, early 50s, and these are the ones that we're starting to see, and that's the beginning. That's right in the middle of the baby boomers time period. So and as far as accessibility, there's companies out there that are cranking out these machines, and there's just more and more people being sick.
Also, it doesn't have something, Galen, due to the fact that our population is aging.
Right.
This seems to be an old person's disease. I guess you don't have too many young kids that run around with clips on their nose.
No, not really.
It's the older folks that are hitting this stage when I guess the smoking's caught up with them after a while.
Exactly. What we see a lot more of is the younger kids with asthma issues.
Asthma.
So
what's asthma? What causes asthma?
That I couldn't tell you. I really don't know.
Huh.
I believe I have asthma because of secondhand smoke. Although I was a smoker at one time, I only smoked for about 8 years. But I was around a lot of smokers, and this was before the all the laws about smoking indoors came about. So it wouldn't be unusual to go to a restaurant and you sit in the restaurant and you'd be sitting in a haze of blue smoke from all the other people smoking around you. I didn't used to think secondhand smoke was that bad, but over the years I'm really starting to see more and more people that have these lung diseases that have never smoked, and it's from secondhand smoke or from whatever, and it doesn't matter where you get the smoke, it still does the damage, and that's where nebulizer therapy comes into effect in conjunction with the oxygen therapy, because what these drugs are called, they're called bronchodilators, and what they do is when you breathe these in, it stimulates the bronchial passages, and the bronchial passages open up so that you can draw more air in.
So that's what the nebulizer does.
That's what the nebulizer does.
We got another call or two. You want to take one?
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting. Hello?
Guess they really didn't want to talk.
Yeah, I guess that caller's just not going to wait forever. Sorry, caller. Call back in and we'll take care of you. Don't worry. I'll get you on immediately. So you were talking about the nebulizer and the fact that it expands.
Right.
The lungs.
But it's not permanent, so that's why they got to take, like I was saying, the steroid is usually normally 2 times a day, and then the most common is albuterol, ipratropium.
These are the chemicals that they put into you?
Yeah, they're an act. Yeah, I don't know if how you would. It's a drug, basically, and all these things that we're talking about, we need a prescription from the doctor to do. So yeah, you can call us up all you want, but just because you want something doesn't mean you can get it.
Well, I could go down and buy a bottle of oxygen anytime I wanted.
No, you can't.
Sure. I got a torch. I use it for welding.
Yeah. Well, this is different. This is what we use is considered a medical grade oxygen.
Oh, okay.
Which is
you can't just sniff propane oxygen. That goes with a propane torch.
No.
Okay. We got the caller's back. Hi, caller.
Hey, good morning. Crazy cell phones, anyway. How you doing, Ray? Galen, I was wondering. See, a lot of people have these portable oxygen tanks they carry around with them. I guess my biggest concern on oxygen tanks is explosions, fires.
Okay.
I know I think people smoke around them. Will an oxygen tank just explode, or you take it outside, you take it out in like cold weather, hot weather, same in the house, your house temperature.
Okay.
Sort of just a concern, that can one of these things explode if you drop it, or some people just carry them in their hands, set them down, and sort of a weird thing.
Well, the common myth behind oxygen is that it will blow up. Oxygen is not flammable. Oxygen is considered an accelerant, and Reed can probably tell you, he plays around with the oxyacetylene stuff. The acetylene is what's actually burning. When you add the oxygen in, it makes that burn cleaner and hotter.
A lot faster.
And a lot faster.
Yeah.
You turn the acetylene off, you'll hear a big snap, and the flame will go out. If oxygen were flammable, that flame would still be burning even without the acetylene. What happens is people smoke with their oxygen on, and they get the cigarette.
Cigarette blows up.
The cigarette is what ignites and flames up, and it scares them. And what they normally do is they take a deep breath in, and what they do is they draw all that fire right down into their throat and singe their lungs, which now they've really done some more damage.
In other words, don't smoke anywhere near pure oxygen.
Well, general rule is, what's that?
The tanks will not explode like if you take them out in really cold weather, really hot. It's just
actually, I keep oxygen tanks in my van all the time. So even during when it was 23 below last week, the tanks were fine. As far as heat, on the other hand, it's recommended that you do not put them in like leave them in your car where it can get up to about 125 degrees. But there are precautions that are taken. Those tanks are tested. They do ultrasounds on them now to check for cracks and leaks and stuff. But what they used to do is they used to pump water into them and pump them up to 5,000 pounds of pressure. And if there's a leak in the tank, that water would come out. But they only fill the tanks with 2,000 pounds of air, compressed oxygen. So even if it does expand, that tank is tested to a point where that oxygen will never reach. Now, in the old days when they were using the cast steel tanks, they had a problem with the necks of the bottles breaking and then sending and making two projectiles.
They make rockets out of the tank, right?
Yeah. Well, what they use now, they use cast aluminum now, which we don't. It's still possible, but it's a lot stronger, and it's a lot safer and a lot lighter than the old steel tanks that they used to use.
Okay, now what's oxygen do to you? I mean, I've been in the hospital before where they give you oxygen. You go out and you're all dried out, your throat's dry for several days. Is that just me, or is that normal for oxygen?
Some people do dry out when they use oxygen, and some don't. And we do have bottles that we can connect to the machines to add moisture into the oxygen to help keep the nose from drying out, and things like that. This business has been around a lot longer than people realize. So it's gone from tanks to the machines, and things are still constantly being revised. Sometimes we get machines and we think why whoever designed it the way they did, because it just doesn't make any sense. But they get paid the big bucks, so we just got to deal with what we get.
And you don't need any more to carry an oxygen tank around, though. You can carry a little gadget that makes oxygen, right?
Well,
creates it.
They have come out with the portable oxygen concentrators that you can carry around. But I will warn anyone out there that's watching that is thinking about and wanting to get a portable oxygen concentrator, they are not for everyone.
Why not?
Because, one, they are typically heavier than the tank. Typically, they don't last any longer than the tank, and they do run on batteries, but you got to recharge the batteries, and to do that, you got to plug in. So they're not necessarily you see them on TV all the time where they're all out to the beach and playing golf and this and that and the other thing. And it's like, yeah. In reality, I took one to a lady just the other day. She looked at it and was like, I can't use that. She went to pick it up and she could barely lift the thing. And it was like 7 pounds. And her tank was only 5 pounds. So, what's the advantage in that?
I'm going to let you guys get back to the show. I guess probably the biggest thing you worry about in life is, towards dying is all of a sudden you're not going to be able to breathe. That's like the biggest thing you worry, you're going to die, you can't breathe, but I have a can of Hawaiian Air I bought 2 years ago. That's going to be my last breath, but
Yeah.
it's probably made in Japan, but it says it's Hawaiian Air, but
Right.
I guess that would just be my biggest fear, just
Yeah.
to get where you think you can't breathe, you get stuffed up with stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
it's scary.
That's where nebulizer therapy and oxygen therapy work hand in hand, is to help open up your passages and open up your breathing so that you can get that oxygen that you need. And eventually it's going to get to the point where there's nothing you can do, and unfortunately we all have to die. And I don't mean to sound morbid or mean or anything, but there's a lot of people suffering with this disease, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, because I see what it does to people, and it's just a really nasty disease.
Well, thanks a lot. I'm going to let you guys get back to the show.
Thank you very
Great
much.
information. Thank you.
Yeah, well, send us a stamped self-addressed box, and we'll send you a small tank of oxygen. Zachary, we're talking to Galen Zook. Galen Zook is an oxygen specialist. He delivers, he sets up, he prepares, he supplies, he informs. And if you have a problem with oxygen, do you have a phone number they can call you?
I don't personally give out my cell phone number or my home phone number, because
Well, how about your business?
I can give that number if you want. It's 716
716.
484-1292.
Okay, so you need information about it. I guess they could get in touch with
Yep.
you through that, right?
Yep.
All right. I don't ever give out. You work for
Lincare.
Lincare,
Yep.
right? Lincare. And Lincare, is that local or is that all over the
Actually,
place? Where is it?
Lincare is probably it is the largest oxygen provider in the U.S. We are nationwide. We have over 1,000 centers throughout the United States.
Wow.
In all 48 continuous states, and 1 center in Ontario, Canada.
How about Hawaii?
Nope.
No Hawaiian. That's why the guy called him before he has some Hawaiian air, I
Yeah.
guess.
Now we have had some people travel to Hawaii in the past, and there is a company over there that will work with us, and that you are able to get oxygen therapy in Hawaii.
So you can travel to Hawaii even though you do have an air problem, huh?
Right.
Not
As
so
long
bad.
as you're not on 24 hours a day and you can't get a sufficient amount of oxygen to get you there, because you can't take the tanks on the plane, and that's where a lot of the portable oxygen concentrators are best for, is short-term trips and that type of thing.
I wonder why they won't let you take a small tank of oxygen.
You don't know they don't know what's in it. It says oxygen, but with the terrorism the way it is nowadays.
Oh, so they're afraid of terrorists. Huh?
Yeah.
Ah.
Not to mention, everything has to be approved by the FAA, and most tanks aren't. So if it's not approved to go on a plane, it's not going on a plane. Where the portable oxygen concentrators, they've been approved by FAA to go on planes.
So you better have one if you fly around then, huh?
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about being a nationwide company is we can, even for people driving from here to Florida, if they know where they're stopping at night, we can contact the center that's in that area, and they can provide a concentrator at the hotel for them, and we can provide a concentrator when they get to their destination. And our traveling program is totally free unless you use the portable concentrator, and then there is a fee for the portable concentrators, and that's billed per weekly. And but if it's just a concentrator and tanks, we can't bill for 2 machines. That's kind of illegal. So we just provide that as the second machine at your destination as a courtesy.
A lot of people would own their own too, right? They have not own it, but I guess they rent it or something.
Well, actually, if there are some people that have gone out and purchased the concentrators on their own, but if they have a problem with it, we are not obligated to repair it. We are not obligated to service it. We are not obligated to deliver any tubing to them, anything like that.
Okay, so you keep saying concentrators. In other words, it doesn't make oxygen. It squeezes the other stuff out, the nitrogen, right, and leaves you with just the oxygen.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It separates the oxygen from the nitrogen and expels the nitrogen back into the atmosphere, and then concentrates the oxygen, puts it out through, and shoves it out through a little tube.
Yeah, well, I guess most people realize that the atmospheric air you're breathing and everything is 20% oxygen, almost 80% nitrogen. There's
Right.
a little CO in there. And
Yep, there's a little few
minor
other things
stuff,
in there.
but mostly it's all nitrogen and oxygen.
Yep, pretty much.
It's 4/5 nitrogen and 2/5 oxygen. A lot of oxygen in that air then. Mm-hmm. But you got to cut it out. You got to separate.
Yeah, you got to separate.
So that's what these little machines are for, ladies and gentlemen. The nebulizer, right?
Nope, that's nebulizer just blows air.
Okay.
That's for the
Just blows it.
that's for a different therapy, and that's all a CPAP does. Also, is just blows air
So
down
you
your
just call
throat.
it the oxygen
The concentrator, yep.
concentrator.
And then
I see on your hat it says Juno. It says Roswell.
Ride for Roswell.
What's that all about?
The Ride for Roswell is Roswell Cancer Center up in Buffalo every year, midsummer. Sponsors, actually, it's sponsored by West Her Auto Group. What it is it's a fundraiser for cancer research. Myself and a couple other people that do this show have ridden in it in the past, and I've signed up for it this year. The cameraman Randy Burt, he's going to be doing it. I think my brother Jeff is going to be doing it. And what you do is you go to the website rideforroswell.org, and then you can, if you want to sign up, there's different lengths of bicycle rides that you can do. And it's a minimum of $200. You have to raise a minimum of $200 to ride in the ride.
What do you do if you have 180?
Well,
Keep it, I guess.
I guess you throw the other 20 in and go do the ride like you promised the other people that you're going to. I've actually signed up to do the 62.5-mile ride this year.
That's quite a lot. Where do you go?
It starts at UB, and it goes out Akron Falls Park. Randy's doing a different one than we did last year. He's actually going to do just a 30-mile ride down by the Niagara River and through Buffalo.
He's pointing at Randy Burke, who he knows, and Randy is our cameraman and specialist in photography here.
So the ride this year is June 27th and 28th. Actually, the 27th, they have an opening ceremonies.
Is that a Saturday, Sunday?
It's a Friday and a Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, okay.
There was 8,000 riders last year, and they raised over $4 million for cancer research. So if you are interested in sponsoring, I know I have set up a website. You can just go to rideforroswell.org and search rider and put my name in there. And you can donate to me, or you can send I guess you could send a check here. If you want to sponsor Randy or my brother, you can send a check here to Access 5, and I'm sure they'll get it somehow.
That's Box 88. Box 188.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
I would encourage you if you can. There's even a 3-mile family ride. It is open for registration. It's been open for about a month. And like I said, $200.
There you go.
You just got to raise $200.
We just got somebody calling in to volunteer. Good morning, caller.
Well, good morning. Good
Well,
morning,
hi.
Galen. It's good to see you on the show this morning. I wanted to mention, Reed,
Yeah.
how much Galen helped us with Doug, with his situation. He was just terrific, and thank you. I want to thank you on the year.
Oh, yeah, did he give you some free oxygen?
No. It's Linda Spalding.
Oh, okay. Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. I was trying to recognize the
Spalding,
voice.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Yeah, Doug was a teacher up to Mayville School for many years, and
Right, he taught a lot. Everybody knew him.
yeah, I didn't.
God bless him. May his soul rest in peace, and I'm sure it is. I'm sure he's in heaven.
So,
Are you sure?
but yeah, I saw Doug quite often,
Yeah,
and
he's a good guy.
yep, and
He trained his dogs to play the piano. Did you know that?
no,
Yeah.
I know his dogs barked a lot. They sang a lot.
Well, he had a dog called Squirty, and Squirty could squirt and play the piano at the same time.
I
No,
don't even
no.
want to know what squirt
no,
is.
no, he didn't. He was called Squirty because he was so small.
Oh, okay.
I was going to
was a
say I
little
don't even
squirt.
know. I didn't want to know what Squirty was all about. So.
He was a very talented musical dog.
Yeah, he did play the piano. I know that.
He did. He did play the piano.
I've got a black cat that plays the piano. He loves to play piano. Ever since he was a little kitten, 20 years ago, he used to jump up on the piano and play it, walk around, and he's gotten very versatile. He actually plays a little bit of Tchaikovsky. Yeah.
My cat likes to play with the computer when it's sitting on my lap. So
Yeah, mine too.
Walk across it, and who knows. That cat can open windows that I don't even know how to open on my computer, and she'll walk across the computer, and this thing pops up. I'm like, okay, how do I close that now? So,
Well, there
but
you
yeah,
go.
nice to hear from you again, Linda.
Well, it's good to see you on the show. And the Ice Castle extravaganza was wonderful.
Oh.
They had a terrific turnout last weekend.
Oh, right. You know, they were telling me, Randy was telling me that people would take a quarter and lick it and stick it on the ice castle, and it's impossible to get it off, just about. Everybody was picking away at the coins trying to get them off.
Well, unfortunately, I was not at the Ice Castle celebration. I was the on-call guy over the weekend, and I was pretty darn busy on President's Day, let me tell you.
Why?
Well,
That enough to give people oxygen problems?
I set 5 people up with oxygen on
Huh.
on President's Day.
Huh. Good
So
Lord.
I worked 12 hours on my holiday, so
Uh-huh.
but that's okay. It's like the one caller called in and asked if we go out and do things at certain times, and by all means, we stay out until things get done. So
Yeah, well, that was much more important.
yes,
Much
yes, it
more
was.
important. Yes.
Go out of here.
Oh my
Have
gosh!
a great weekend.
Well,
Bye-bye.
thanks for the call, caller. Galen, I want to give you just 30 seconds uninterrupted to close off.
Oh, geez, 30 seconds.
15 seconds.
Okay, because I don't know what to talk about. We've talked about so much, but I can't emphasize enough. If you're feeling like you're not sleeping, you're not resting, and you want to fall asleep during the day, there's 2 things you need to get checked. You need to get your oxygen levels checked, and you got to and if you're snoring and you're gasping for air when you wake up, you need to go.
You need oxygen. Huh?
You need to go either get tested for oxygen or get tested for sleep apnea.
Okay, give me that phone number again.
Our office phone number is 716-484-1292, and
There you go. Galen?
you need to call your doctor first, though.
Yeah, call your doctor. Galen Zook, talking about oxygen therapy, but a lot more we could talk about. We never really got too deeply into it, but I hope everybody learned a little something about it. And if you're having trouble breathing, you know you're going to need some oxygen therapy if you're going to survive. Good. I'm going to have to say goodbye to everybody, and you had one last second.
I just wanted to say how people, because I get short of breath pretty easily carrying that equipment, and I get accused of needing oxygen all the time. So,
Okay, great. I want to thank some people here.
Sure.
Thank
go
you,
right ahead.
especially Galen Zook. I want to thank Chuck Kelsey, Devin Taylor, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Jeff Zook, Don Zenz, John Hamels, and everybody out there. Sorry, the last caller, we didn't have time. We'll get you next time you come back sometime.
I will.
All right. That's all we got to say about oxygen. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers.